YouTube is alive. And there is Facebook. Good Wednesday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Andrew Stutzke here alongside Morgan Strackbein. Our morning meteorologist this morning, filling in for Eric. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'm sure if you were like me, you're probably dying for a nap right now.
I am, but I can't take a nap because I'm back in tomorrow morning. So we gotta push. I'm someone who does not like to do the split sleep or the nap and then sleep the rest at night. I just like to get all my sleep in one. So I just go to bed really early.
I gotta tell you, you are such a trooper for still coming on board for StormTrack 8 University today. I know it's just a half hour, but still, you are a trooper for joining us today.
Of course, I love it.
And we have a really fun topic today, too, because it's something that we use almost every day, I would say. But especially we're going to be using it today, and that is going to be the topic regarding Doppler radar. And it's a really interesting topic. In fact, it's probably my second most favorite compared to the thunderstorm unit. We do the tornado one and the severe storm spotting one that we do, too. So it's a really neat topic. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. If you know of somebody, whether they're school age or adult, that would really enjoy this series, go ahead and give it a share on your page right now if you're watching us on your Facebook page. Or if you're on YouTube or if you're on WQAD.com, point them right to our website. We do these every Wednesday as long as the schedule allows, and 1 o'clock is where you can find us right here on the social media channel. So before we get into Doppler radar, we've got some weather to talk about. And I'm going to let Morgan take a little bit of this over here because she did the forecast this morning. So you've got more of a mind for what the models are looking like and all that good stuff. So, yeah, there's the current state of affairs.
Yes, right now we have the you can kind of see where the rain is impacting our area. We have 70s out to our west in Ottumwa, 70s out to our east in Princeton, Sterling, Peoria. But there's that little cool spot. That's all being influenced right now by showers that are pushing through. It's raining out my window right now. We have a view of that radar. Right? Yeah, there it is. All that rain that's pushing in. Now, this initial line is going to push through. We're not safe from rain after this line does push through. We're actually going to track in some more thunderstorms as we get into, especially the later evening hours. Now, the big story or the big question is, are we going to get a break? Are we going to see much in clearing? Because right now we actually did get upgraded to all of our hometowns now being included in that level 1 risk or that possible category to see some storms turn strong later on this evening. You can even see that little darker area of red that's kind of just to the south and west of Burlington. That's a level 2 risk. So we did get upgraded, but the big story is, are we going to see a lot of clearing after we do get this line to push through, which FutureTrack does want to try to clear out some of those clouds and give us a little bit of sunshine before that next little round does move in. I would say timing for that after 6 p.m. That will carry us into the overnight hours. Chief Meteorologist James Sahara obviously going to be tracking this all evening and giving you those updates. Of course, if anything does turn severe, he will be the one who is taking the grounds and tracking that for you. But yeah, the big question is, how much clearing are we going to get and how strong can those storms get? The primary risk with the storms will be damaging winds, but an isolated tornado cannot be ruled out. That's just something we'll have to closely monitor in the next couple of hours, especially.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be all about, can we get some clearing in here to kind of destabilize things a little bit. And it's not impossible that we could see some sunshine behind this initial wave, depending on what happens with that stuff coming through Missouri. But the main show, yeah, I agree, is going to be a little bit later on as we head into the evening, so we'll keep an eye on that. Beyond that, not a bad forecast. It's going to be a little showery for Thursday, as you saw the FutureTrack there, but a few showers coming in on Saturday. Sunday looks really nice, mid-60s. And then we'll stay in the 60s to the beginning of next week before we cool down a little bit, but not bad at all.
Yes, absolutely. We've been spoiled, or even I am going to use this phrase now. We do radio call-ins in the morning with Dave and Darren at 93.9 Planet, and they called it a weather appetizer, a little bit of a teaser to to the summer temperatures we were spoiled with. But now we're going to go back down to more seasonal, which still April. Obviously, we're going to take it. We'll take what we can get as long as it's not 30s in my mind.
Yeah, wow, that summer preview we've had the last few days. Woo! I mean, I've been tempted to switch on the air conditioning because it's gotten up to about 78, 79 in the house, but it's like, no, if you wait till the evening, open the windows all the way up, that cool air will rush in, and it did the job. But yeah, I think some of us might have been tempted to do that first switch on of the air conditioning the last couple of days. Oh,
I did it. I did it twice. It got to 80. It got to 80 really quickly at my place, and so I had to switch it on just to get it cool. But once the evening came on, I could quickly shut it off, and it would hold a comfortable temperature from then on.
yeah, I don't blame you because it does get warm and it gets stuffy, especially when that air is not moving. That is for sure. We'll go ahead and we'll jump on in. Thanks again for joining us. I'll go through the agenda here real quick. I'll show you what we've got coming up for today, our navigation guide, if you will. So we're going to talk about the history of Doppler radar technology. It really is a cool history to dive into. If you're a history buff, like I am, I really enjoy digging up this information. I'm going to tell you how Doppler radar works in plain English, because there are a lot of physics and chemistry and electromagnetism and all that stuff involved, but we're not going to dive too deep into that because we want to make sure you're not totally confused, and we're not totally confused either, because it can get very confusing. We'll tell you what it tells us, of course, in terms of the radar. We'll give you an insider secret towards the end, and that's also when we will have time to answer your questions. And it can be a question about Doppler radar, or it could be a question about any previous topic we've talked about, or if you want a question about today's weather or upcoming weather, we can talk about that as well.
Absolutely. All right, diving into the history of Doppler radar. It was built on the foundation of electronics. Now, again, I really do like the background history, like Andrew said, of the Doppler radar. In 1887, potential for radio waves to find objects is discovered. So we find out that waves can be sent out and that they can hit certain objects and then send a signal back indicating that something is disrupting that wave and there is something there. Then in 1935, we first recorded detection of aircraft by radio waves. So the radar really was kind of used for, I think, in one of the wars. I'm bad at the history timeline of wars, but it was definitely used widely in one of the wars to detect those aircrafts, to be able to find out where they were, just to make sure no one is flying under cover or under radar. Term radar is officially developed in 1940.
Yeah, I'm not good with the timeline of the different wars we've had too, but I'm going to guess, I think it's World War II.
That's what I think too.
They have utilized it, yeah. But still cool to see that even all the way back then, we were using technology like we're using today. And really, really cool. If you go more into the history, so the first weather radars, if you go back to 1961, that's when these weather radars were first deployed for network use, meaning they were all tied together and you could access the data from each individual radar through one central system. Now, radar, as you saw earlier, it was developed way before 1961, but it wasn't until that year that we were able to network all of them together and have like a clearinghouse of data, if you will, for each one. In 1980, we introduced radar velocity. What that is it allows us to detect not only the wind speed in thunderstorms and precipitation, but also the wind direction. And that is so critical to being able to detect rotation, tornadoes, and also straight line winds as well, like the derecho that we had last summer. Most recently in the 2000s and 2010s, additional data products were introduced. This was thanks to a new piece of technology installed in our radar called dual polarization, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But now we have additional products that can actually detect debris that is lofted into the air. So if we use one of our special products, which is called the correlation coefficient, the CC, we can actually detect and see whether debris is lofted into the air, match that up with a rotation area and the velocity data, and that'll tell us whether we've got a tornado on the ground or not. It's really exciting technology. Again, it has not been around very long. We just recently got it in the last 10 years or so, but real nice advancement for us to have.
Absolutely. So we go into our first operational weather radar installation, which was installed in Miami, which is WSR 55 or 57. So it was deployed in 1956 and then installed in Miami in 1959. There were 11 units installed in the Midwest for storm detection. And then the network expanded throughout the 1960s. Obviously, they're going to put these radars in areas that do see the more active weather, which we still see today. Most of our radars are in regions that do have the most active weather. You get out west where they don't have much. There's a lot of empty zones that aren't being picked up out there.
Yeah, and Miami made perfect sense for the first one because you think about Miami, you're thinking about hurricanes, and that was really the ultimate goal of that first radar, was to be able to see these hurricanes and get that complete picture with the radar itself. So that made sense that that was the first one for that location. You can also go back into the archives and find, too, that the first hook echo ever observed on radar was actually on WSR 57 model. And this was actually, if memory serves me correctly, in Illinois. This was in the Springfield radar, I believe, is where this one was deployed. As you can see there, it looks nothing like what we see on radar today. No color. It is somewhat high definition. It's kind of hard to see in the graphic there because it's so small. You get a good amount of detail, but again, it looks nothing like what we see today. But one thing that does remain the same is look at the shape. You've got the thunderstorm, which is pointed by the yellow arrow there, and then the hook echo, which is pointed in the red area there. There's still a good amount of detail, but again, not nearly as pretty looking as what we see today. That's a big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. It shows how much development we have had over the years.
And I think we've got a video. I think.
Ooh.
Yes, we do. Let me make sure we have audio here. So I think this is going to be a loop of I believe a supercell, if not a couple of supercells. This was at MSP, which is Minneapolis, St. Paul, back in 1965. So you can see what the forecasters and then the Weather Bureau, wasn't the National Weather Service then, it was still called the Weather Bureau. You can see exactly what they were having to analyze on the radar compared to what we do today. Notice very similar features. You've got that area in the middle of the radar. That's what we call ground clutter, the trees, the buildings, telephone poles, things like that. But yeah, you can still see the storm features even on this particular radar back in the day.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Nimbus. He gets crazy when I'm gone for too long. All right. WSR 57 in 1953. That's, again, what we just looked at, the first hook echo discovered in Illinois, which can be a good indicator of where tornadoes are, especially on the radar. And then in 1954, Hurricane Edna observed by radar. The closest to the Quad Cities initially was in Chicago and Des Moines, which is both fairly far away. And when you do get farther from the radar, you start to get, you're not getting as clear of a picture anymore, and it can kind of begin to disperse, or you can kind of get those boundaries of where exactly things are happening a little bit swayed. So good for us for getting a radar eventually here.
Yeah, and the story really hasn't changed much even today in terms of why these radars were so spread out. You have to remember they were so expensive. And even today, as we've discussed in previous university segments, we still have radar holes that have yet to be filled. And again, it all comes down to money. They're just very expensive to build, very expensive to maintain. And that's why we had the case back in the day as well, for them being so sparsely populated, if you will. You can get another upgrade too. This is the next generation of Doppler radar used for weather use. This is the WSR 74CS. So you're getting kind of the nomenclature of the name. We had the 57 because that's when the technology was developed, around 1957. This one, you guessed it, yeah, 1974 is when this was developed. So by 1976, the National Weather Service, they received funding to replace several of those old 57 models with the newer technology. These were generally used as gap fillers, though, and this is for areas that were in between radar sites. Now, here in Moline for the Quad Cities, before we got our current radar, we actually had a WSR 74CS that was located in Moline. That was installed and put into place in 1977, and then it was decommissioned and torn down in 1996. I have researched the heck out of this, trying to figure out where the 74CS may have been located, whether if it was at the Davenport Airport, which I don't think it was because it said it was in Moline. And so far, I've come up empty-handed, so I might have to do some picking around for some of the folks at the National Weather Service office and see if they remember maybe where that one was. Because, again, you're going back to 1996. It wasn't that long ago, but still I'd be curious to know where it was, if it was indeed located in Moline, like the history says it was.
Yes, definitely would have to go picking at some of the brains of the folks at the National Weather Service.
Yep.
So then we go to the one that is current, the one that we use here today, WSR 80AD, again, following that trend. In 1998, the current radar that was developed, that's, again, in use today, considered to be the most powerful radar in the world, and it transmits 750,000 watts of power, which is equivalent to 625 toasters. That's a lot of power going into that radar. Again, it's a very expensive, very high-tech piece of equipment. It takes a lot to maintain. We're constantly going under them, doing maintenance every single year. We'll lose our radar for about, we actually just went under one, where we lost our radar site for about 4 to 5 days while they did maintenance on it.
We did, yeah. They just recently upgraded the, I believe it was the generator, the backup power generator was changed out, and they got some new fuel tanks and some things like that. So it's going to be around for a while, thankfully, though there is some newer technology on the horizon that'll eventually replace it. When that is, we don't know. A lot of that up in the air. But yeah, as you said, that's a lot of power. If you have a larger television station in a larger market where they have their own radar, some of them have power up to 1 million watts. So there's a lot of juice being pumped out of that radar site. You certainly don't want to be in front of that thing directly. That could be very, very bad for your health. We're going to dive into how Doppler radar works itself. So to kind of give you a real-world example of the Doppler radar principle, I want you to think about you're standing outside, maybe on the sidewalk in downtown, and you have got a fire truck, or you've got an ambulance, or a police car that's approaching you. Well, when it's approaching you, the sound that that car is making in terms of its siren, it sounds like it's getting higher and higher in pitch. When in reality, it's actually just because of that change in distance, or that Doppler effect, that's changing the pitch of that siren sound. As you notice it moves away from you, that pitch gets lower and lower and lower as it fades off into the distance. It's the same principle, too, even if you weren't talking about a siren. If you're talking about even a car, just the road noise of the car will certainly increase in pitch the closer it gets to you, and then decrease the farther away it gets from you. And that's how Doppler radar works, and is able to detect not only objects, but to detect the distance and the speed at which those objects are moving.
Yes, I'm having a lot of flashbacks now to physics and all that stuff, learning about the Doppler effects. So with the Doppler shift, an object moving towards you has a higher pitch. The sound waves get compressed. So you're seeing, if you were to see this on a wave chart, it would be very compressed, kind of fast. But as the object moves away from you, they are stretched, giving off that lower pitch. So the waves kind of get elongated, and they look... which, if you were to put this in my mind, it makes sense. High pitch, higher waves. Lower pitch, you got those lower waves.
Yeah, perfect way to lay that out. You've got the taller peaks and the valleys and the higher pitch, and then the less dramatic mountains or valleys and peaks in the low pitch as well. Good way to put that. If you look at the technology inside the radar, so we're using that energy, that's 750,000 watts of power to send out these pulses of energy. So they'll get not only a vertical pulse that gets sent out, but now with dual polarization, we transmit a vertical pulse as well. And we actually look to see not only the energy that bounces back, but also the timeline to it, how long it takes that energy to bounce back. And that tells us exactly what the radar is looking at, whether it's rain, snow, hail, also the wind pattern in there too. So the radar will send out that energy. I gotta change that, there's an M in there. It sends, with an N, energy out in pulses, and it listens for a return signal. So the radar itself does the majority of its lifespan listening for those signals to bounce back. So the newer technology that I just talked about, the dual polarization, it sends out energy pulses in 2 different angles, and doing that allows us to see the different types of precipitation that are being detected.
Yes, and so like Andrew said, the radar spends the majority of its lifespan listening for returning signals that have been sent out. Radars operate in different modes, scanning the atmosphere at different levels 24/7. So the radar is always working, and now radars even have the ability to switch different modes, meaning if we have a perfectly sunny day, it'll be set in what we call clear air mode. So it's kind of going slower. It doesn't really need to keep up with everything because we don't have anything that we're really monitoring. But then when we get, like right now, it's in precipitation mode. So it's constantly scanning, and in fact, it's scanning faster so that we can constantly get those updates more quicker.
Yeah, great point. Different speeds. Of course, with this thing constantly moving, there's going to be a lot of wear and tear. So the more that you can kind of slow that process down, the better. And that's a good example with clear air mode. When there's nothing going on, we really don't need to be rapidly scanning the sky every second. But yeah, as you mentioned, there's these different modes. In fact, this is the most recent update to one of these modes for severe weather, especially when that's ongoing. So as we all know, the Earth is round, contrary to what the internet may say. We've been over this numerous times. But the radar itself, it needs to scan at different elevations. So it makes one rotation, scans one elevation. On the next rotation, the radar will slightly move upward a little bit to scan the next one, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Now, the radar cannot scan directly above itself. That's impossible. But it can scan up to quite a steep elevation to see the top of the storms, especially depending on how far away they are. But with this newer program, especially during severe weather, it used to be that you would have to wait for that complete cycle of different angles to finish before you would get a new low scan. And we've talked about this, the majority of the action in a thunderstorm happens in the lowest tilt, lowest actual couple of tilts. So the more frequently we can scan the bottom of the storm, the more better we can see the rotation and kind of get an advanced warning as to whether a tornado is going to be forming and things like that. So these new scanning strategies, they call them, that are in place, they now will scan the first elevation. They'll go up another couple of degrees in elevation, do those scans, and then immediately drop back down and do another scan, so that we're getting new radar data from the bottom of that storm roughly every 2 minutes or so. It used to be you would have to wait at least 5 to 6 minutes, and as you know, Morgan, the quicker the scan that we get, that's more warning time for our viewers.
Yes, absolutely. The quicker that we can get those updates and see what's happening, because we know that rotation, especially rotation within these storms, can develop and fall apart at the snap of a finger. It can come out of nowhere. So the quicker that we can get these updates, that means the more warning time that you can get to get to your safe place. Which actually, speaking of safe places, today is that safe place selfie day that I see the National Weather Service is promoting.
Yeah, so you can grab your phone, go to your safe place, bathtub, basement, interior closet, and snap your picture, a little selfie. Maybe you got a book over your head, a pillow, and you upload it to social media with the hashtag SafePlaceSelfie.
Yep, that's what I keep seeing all over my feed. I still haven't done it, but
yeah, we'll have to do that once we hop off here. Next, we have got a video. We're actually going to go inside the Doppler radar. Of course, it's turned off. We don't want to alarm anybody. These people are not being exposed to life-threatening radiation, but it is a neat perspective on the inside.
will be fun coming back down. So this is the dish. This is the antenna that helps us measure precipitation, thunderstorms, all that good stuff. How big is it? 28 feet. Not too bad. Not too bad. Pretty big. But you can see this is quite a setup in here. And this is pretty solid. Even got a mop in here. Nice. All right, we're actually going to go behind the dish. And to your right-hand side, it's actually the wavepad where the signal is coming in. It's reflected off of the dish and out into the atmosphere. Anything that's reflected off as far as the signal comes back in to the indicator dish and then back to the center and into the receiver section.
That's some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is. And
Huge.
I never realized how large it was until I saw this video, and especially if you look at the guy standing there. I mean, he's just a fraction of the size of this dish.
Yeah, it's these things are huge, and you can even see ours from I-80.
Mm-hmm. Don't
be looking too hard if you're driving, but if you're a passenger, you can see ours from I-80. It just looks like a giant golf ball on some metal stands.
Exactly. Yep, the giant golf ball.
Yep. All right, the Service Life Extension Program, when the current WSR-88D radar was installed, the technology was expected to last 20 years. The SLEP, is that? Yes, the SLEP will extend the radar's use to 2030. So here in the Quad Cities, we've had 3 of the 4 planned upgrades already. And Andrew, I don't know what SLEP is, so you're going to have to explain that.
So SLEP is what they're calling that Service Life Extension Program. And it's just a combination of we've had the generators replaced. I believe we've had the pedestal replacement, where they had to take the dome off and replace that white tower that we saw kind of in the middle that holds the dish. I got to check on that. But yeah, it's just basically the refurbishment program. And if you look at the picture on your screen, that's an example of some of the ball bearings that they have found inside these pedestals that they're changing out. And you see several of them on the left-hand side, they've just absolutely cracked in half. And when you've got that grinding all the time, 24/7, that's definitely not a good thing to have in your radar. So this is it's a good investment that they're doing. I'm glad they're doing this. As you said, Morgan, it was only supposed to last 20 years. We should already be on the next generation in terms of radar technology. But again, as we know, it's a money thing. We don't have enough money to go around, at least to the NOAA organization, to get us that new radar technology yet. So what we're doing is we're investing in what we have, doing the dual polarization, and then also doing this SLEP program, which is expected to be completed by 2023. I think last time I checked, they're actually in Hawaii right now, upgrading a couple of their radars. But thank goodness they're doing this, because we do need radar. It's an absolutely very important thing to have.
Yes, that is a very good thing to have. I didn't know that this was a thing, so even I'm learning in this. So, you can go ahead.
All right, so we'll talk about, I lost my train of thought. We'll talk about what the radar tells us. It does tell us quite a bit. In terms of the precipitation, it tells us what type there is. We can now discern from rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow thanks to that dual polarization technology. It also tells us the intensity, of course, hail size, wind speed, wind direction, storm debris from tornadoes, insects and birds. It can pick up bird migrations. It can also pick up fronts and boundaries. We see that a lot, especially in the summertime, and lots more. And we're still learning, by the way. Every year, it seems we're finding some new piece of new nugget of information that people are picking up that Doppler radar is observing, especially during severe weather events. There are certain phenomenon that are being noticed now with all these new radar products that are available to us with this newer technology. So it's still a learning process, but really nice tool to have.
Oh, an amazing tool to have. So dual polarization allows us to see shapes and sizes of raindrops, hail, etc. Again, it is able to send both that horizontal and that vertical to be able to measure all around how big is this object that it is hitting. So very, very helpful when it does come to hail. As you can see, there's a picture there of what our hail tracker looks like. Higher or the more pink color, it's picking up that larger hail. So very, very important, and it's very helpful when it does especially come to tracking hail and also debris. It can show us where larger objects of debris are, and that's very helpful when tornadoes are developing.
Oh yeah, big time. Super, super helpful. I'll give you a little insider secret, and this is something that we see every single day on radar. And that is what we call ground clutter. So if you look at any radar picture, especially near the center of the radar where it's located, you're going to see a lot of this, and you'll look at it and think, oh my goodness, it's raining. Not the case. It's actually ground clutter. And what these are tall objects that are close to the radar, and they're picked up. So it can be buildings, cell phone towers. We've seen insects. We've actually seen traffic, interstate traffic that's been picked up. If we get the right atmospheric conditions, sometimes these radar pulses can actually beam back down. Don't get worried. You're not going to be zapped with radiation that way. That's nothing to be concerned about because, of course, that energy is dissipating. But one thing to look for, especially around here, is if you notice where the wind farms are. So here, notice you're by Bishop Hill, down there towards Knox County there. That's where a pretty substantial wind farm is, and that's where we're seeing a lot of ground clutter there. What's the easiest way that you can tell whether something's ground clutter or not? Well, the easiest way to tell is it moving? If you sit on a radar screen and it's not moving, it's likely ground clutter. So maybe I don't know if I can find one right now because that wind farm is kind of filled with rain. But let me zoom. Okay, so here's an example here by Walcott. Notice that's not moving. It's staying nearly stationary the entire time. So that's going to be ground clutter. And yeah, it's very close to the radar site too, which is another giveaway. If you go into the radar site itself, there you see, yeah, it's detecting a lot of ground clutter, especially on the western side of the radar. So that's the easiest way to tell whether you're looking at something that is actually precipitation or whether it's ground clutter.
Oh, this was just recent, wasn't it?
Yeah, March.
It decommissioned WSR 57 near Brent, Alabama, was struck twice by a tornado, once in 1973, once just recently. So that's rare to have a radar undergo a tornado twice in its lifetime.
Yeah, and it's the first time it was destroyed, it did also lose its dome. And much of the building was destroyed too. And then the one on the left is the street view. I think that's from 2014. The one on the right is just after this most recent tornado last month that moved through, and you can see the dome was ripped off again. Kind of unfortunate because this is in a way a piece of history. You don't see a lot of these sitting around anymore. These old radars. This one obviously it's not in use, but I think it would be really cool if they would actually just take that down and like put it in a museum somewhere. I think that'd be really cool because it really kind of goes back to show you the history of this technology. And also that building there, I'm not sure what purpose it's used for now, but that actually was a old Weather Bureau office, so that's pretty cool history there too.
Yeah, that is a lot of history. Maybe after this recent tornado, they'll think about taking it down, trying to preserve it, because it is a piece of history.
It is. It really is. I think they found the dome somewhere to the east of this site location. Apparently, it was fully intact. I haven't seen pictures of it, but that's just some of the Twitter chatter that I was hearing about
Twitter
this
chatter.
particular one.
Ugh. All right.
It is time for your questions. Get them in. Like Craig says, get those thumbs a working.
Get those thumbs a working. Craig, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yes, we miss seeing him in person.
We do. He's the best.
Let's see.
All right.
You going to the main page?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right. Of course, we have Seth checking in, saying hi.
Yes, our number one fan.
Cheryl from Fremont, Nebraska.
What?
That's what I'm seeing.
Wow, we got fans in high places.
Sally saying hello from Muscatine. How are we doing? And thank you. I'm doing great. I'm tired, but I'm doing good.
That's awesome.
Stan saying, come on, Derecho. No, we don't want another one.
We definitely don't want one of those.
We don't want one.
No, one's enough.
Timothy checking in from LeClaire. We have Lucky checking in from Sierra Vista, Arizona.
Wow.
We're hitting nationwide.
Jeez.
And then Suzanne checking in from Rio.
All right.
Nice. That's all I see on there.
Awesome. I've got Chuck McLeod saying hello. Hi, Chuck. Hello, Bill says hi, Andrew and Morgan. Cindy Malico, by the way, one of my dearest former Staples customers from Sterling, says she loves your cat.
Aw, thanks.
We've got our good friend Linnell from Elizabeth checking in on us today, too. Hello. She said she just joined our ranks getting her COVID-19 vaccine. Excellent. Welcome.
Nice. We love it.
We're both still on shot number 1. We're going to be getting our second one here in the coming weeks, and we're excited for that. But we are so beyond blessed that we have the opportunity to do that. And good to hear, too, that it's opening up now to everybody, which is some great news. And that's all I have on my side.
All right, I got a couple on my side. I got my dad saying hi. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Morgan.
And then we have Penny checking in saying hi. We have Mike. Mike loves snow. He's constantly commenting on my posts about snow, and he said, snow in April. No, we're done.
No.
Get it out of here. And then we have a good friend of mine, Becca, saying, love watching you guys. You really do learn something new every day.
Aw,
that is true.
That's so kind. Thank you, Becca.
Thanks, Becca.
And in regards to Mike, I'm sorry. I'm just done with snow. I took the snow
I'm
out
done.
of my car. I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm over it. I'm under it. The car is running in the driveway.
Yes, that can be saved for I need like at least 5 months.
Yes.
Don't come back.
Yes, I agree.
More than 5 months, but.
All right, we're all caught up. What do we got on the docket for next week, by chance? Drum roll.
Getting there. We have colors in the atmosphere.
Yes.
all about rainbows. Why is the sky blue? Why do we see reds and oranges at sunrise and sunset? That's a fun one.
Yeah, and I think I missed out on that one the last run around. I think you had to solo that one. So I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to learn something new, I'm sure, in that unit.
I love that one. That's exciting. So that next week is going to be a good one.
Yes. So you'll want to make sure and join us next Wednesday, 1 o'clock. It's the same place here. And we'll have another exciting lesson for you. So you guys can enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We're a little bit behind in terms of our timing, so maybe we'll give you an early out next week. We'll see. But enjoy the rain. Look for a lot of green tomorrow. The lightning that we're going to get later on this afternoon and tonight will get a lot of nitrogen infused into the air, and that's going to go into the ground and really green things up, I think, in the next several days.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm ready. I've seen a couple of things budding, but I want the grass to be really green.
Yes, there'll be a nice change going into the upcoming weekend. So Morgan, I'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll see you guys this weekend on the newscast, and hopefully we'll catch you back here next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. You guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Morgan, get some sleep. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow
I will.
morning. All right, guys. See ya.